There is a man I cannot stop thinking about, and I want to show you why. As a soon-to-be physician, I will be expected to pledge and abide by the Hippocratic Oath, one which states that we must do no harm. This future I share with a new generation of leaders and doctors sparked a moment of introspection for me, but it also unwarranted a dilemma that I want to help unpacking. On the 10th floor of a Midtown hospital building, an elderly man was seen by his doctor for a routine checkup. Unfortunately, his age was catching up to him, and he needed the surgical replacement of a weakened heart valve. Despite this news, the man was adamant. He did not want what he described as a stagnant life on medications and surgery. So over the next 2 weeks, his family rallied with the doctors to try and encourage the man to go ahead with the procedure. In this case, you are the doctor, responsible for the patient's well-being, and you understand that this surgery might save his life. How many of you would operate on this patient? A show of hands, please. Okay, so we can see a lot of you are going to go ahead with it, and we're going to revisit this. In reality, yes, the procedure was scheduled despite his reluctance, but it was an absolute success. His valve was replaced with a state-of-the-art mechanical device that took over its function. Suddenly, his prognosis got a lot better, and it was described as the perfect outcome. But was it? In a silent hospital room, he noticed this unusual clicking and knocking noise. Over and over, he could hear it while recovering from anesthesia, eventually piecing together that this came from his new mechanical valve. It drove him to a corner he could not get out of. It was really difficult for him. He felt really distressed with the knowledge that this noise, this sound, would be there for the rest of his life. So to his left was this large window he looked out from to try and escape this new reality he was living. And he noticed not too far away was this building with this little red shining light on top of it, flashing at a regular, predictable, boring pace, developing a fixation his mind obsessed over. He just could not get over this little red shining light. It unsettled him because with time he realized that this regular flashing pattern of this little small shining light did not sync with the looming, ugly knocking of his new mechanical valve. And once again, it drove him to a corner he could not get out of. His hallucinations relapsed, and it caused a psychotic break. This story provokes a series of reflections we can all relate to. Despite the evidence-based approach used by the doctors, the facilities in the hospital, the technology developed to make the surgery possible, and crucially, you, the doctor, and your best intentions to try and help this patient make a recovery, we still could not yield a positive result. And so why did you do it? Why do we do the things we do? To answer that question, I had to extrapolate it to my life. I felt consumed by the knowledge and realization that in positions of leadership and responsibility, the benevolence of good intentions does not necessitate good outcomes. At the time, I was newly elected as the president of the largest medical association led by a student nationally, and I faced the most exciting yet challenging time of my life as a leader. So through a lot of introspection and self-reflection, the conclusion I had to this scenario was that not every good thing is the correct thing to do. And I determined that because after years of climbing up the ranks, becoming this person that's a leader, undertaking massive projects, growing programs to new heights, and catalyzing transformations, I still had to inherit a difficult situation. So why does not every good thing become the correct thing to do? In this association, I had to inherit a difficult situation, like we said. 13 years since its establishment, it was a stuck organization, a fragmented collection of complicated bureaucratic problems. And as Jamie Dimon says, chairman and CEO of JP Morgan & Chase, one of the largest banks in the world, bureaucracy is a killer for organizations. And so keeping that in mind, I would like to show you my first weekly report in my new term as president of the association. First week, mind you. Our funding, which usually ranged between 20 and 40,000 dirhams, dropped to nothing. We had nothing to our name. We no longer had preliminary approvals that allowed us to get our work done a lot quicker. Our jurisdiction was heavily restricted and narrowed, which resulted in a completely empty calendar. Nothing to look forward to. And I was formally advised to consider shutting the entire association down. So after finally getting to this point, holding the mantle to be able to create change, produce reform, and catalyze transformations, I was no longer looking at a pursuit for growth, but a fight for survival. So this bedrock of confidence that I leaned on, it broke and cracked from underneath me. But that was until my analysis led me to a discovery about you and me, us, humans. We have a natural proclivity for intervention. When faced with a scenario, we would much rather produce an action in a means to try and understand the world around us, in the same way that a child would touch the fire and only then understand that he gets burned and it's not the good thing to do. So in the case of the little red shining light, you, the doctor, felt more comfortable performing the surgery despite knowing it has major risks and the fact that the patient was reluctant about it. But you went ahead and did it because you wanted to try and get a good result. So, if there was any chance of saving this association, I had to learn and understand that great leaders will always know when to intervene, but the absolute best will know exactly when not to. So this simple shift in mindset changed everything for me in my term as president. I understood the weight behind the intervention of those with positions of responsibility and the necessity for governance. But I equally understood the importance of letting autonomy take its course. This produced a system that allowed us to get our work done a lot quicker and a lot better. And we had, thankfully, through the grace of God, one of the best and most successful terms in the association's history. Remember that first weekly report I showed you? I would like to show you my last weekly report in my term as president. Just compare them. The association was now 100% self-sufficient, not reliant on any funding at all. We had the largest youth-led community health initiatives in the region. We re-established the best medical students research programs in the country, made by students. We hosted 6 new major health conferences and congresses, some in this very hall. And we coordinated more than 30 on and off-site events and activities. But despite all this success, maybe what I'm most proud of is our month-long overseas humanitarian medical aid project where we sent our volunteers to Zanzibar, Tanzania, where they helped support, facilitate, and contribute to providing crucial vaccines, sophisticated treatment plans, and assisted in vital procedures for our brothers and sisters abroad. So as simple as it sounds, and this is what changed everything for me. These are some pictures of our volunteers. The best thing we can do is learn when it's best for us to intervene and when it's best for autonomy to take its course. And I want everyone here in this hall and everyone watching through that camera to remember that we each have our little red shining light. Thank you very much.